What's up, YouTube? Ready to talk about strawberries? I sure am. My name is Tyler Pearson. I'm a program officer with our team here at Heifer USA, and we are coming to you live from Heifer Ranch in Perryville, Arkansas. If you are watching the live broadcast of this video, please just type your questions in the live chat and we will answer as many of those as we can. If you're watching the recorded version, just type your question down in the comments below and we will get back to you as soon as possible. So today we are going to talk all about these awesome berries behind me, strawberries. We're going to talk about how we planted them, the tools and equipment that we use, details that we do for cultivating, harvesting. We'll answer as many of your questions. I hope we have a lot of gardeners, farmers, just backyard folks growing on their porch, in a pot, in a plant, wherever you can, watching on the live stream today. So we want this to be a conversation, a community dialogue. Help us answer questions we don't know the answer to. We'll try to help answer questions you may have. And we're just going to have a good time talking strawberries. So I'm joined today by two of my colleagues, Sarah Bacher, horticulture specialist here with Heifer USA, and Sean Passera, horticulture specialist here with Heifer USA. So, Sean and Sarah are going to be here to answer your questions. I'll be checking it out in the live chat. So again, if you're just joining us, you have questions about strawberries, how we're doing things here at Heifer Ranch, or what you're doing at your farm or your home garden, just type them in the live chat and we'll get back to you. I'm going to turn it over to Sarah first, and we're going to talk a little bit about our operation here, just how many strawberries we're growing, what varieties, how we ordered the strawberries, where we got them from. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about our structure, the equipment. We've got a really cool video that we put together that we recorded back in November, so it's May now. And back in November when we planted all these strawberries, we recorded a lot of footage so that during this live stream we could show you what it looked like and how we actually planted those. So we're going to be playing that video in the live stream. A lot of great stuff coming up toward the end as well, so stick around and I will turn it over to Sarah first. Sarah, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Awesome, doing
good to
great.
Be here. All right, well, we're kind of in our little strawberry patch right here. We've got our four little caterpillar tunnels, and within these four tunnels we've got about 1,500 plants. So if you guys want to take a look, we have got 4 rows in our 15-foot beds here.
Okay. It is a little backlit that way, so I'm going to get on this side of you.
On this way? Okay.
Yep.
Are we still looking good?
Yep. So you got 4 beds per tunnel.
Yep, 4 beds per tunnel. So about 1,500 plants between the 4 tunnels. And we do use these tunnels because it does help with the strawberries themselves. So that's kind of how we've been doing it the last few years. So where would we like to go from here?
So what varieties did you end up going with and why?
Yeah.
And where did you order them? How did you go about ordering them? Kind of just get started with that.
So we've been ordering our berries from, Cottle Nursery. From Cottle Nursery. North Carolina is where they are at the moment. So we actually get them in plugs, which is basically just a tiny little transplant. We get them in these huge trays. And then when we put them in November, or a little earlier sometimes, we'll just plant them right in the ground, make sure they get watered in really well, and then they become these beautiful plants. And it just takes a lot of time and effort out of our part as farmers to be able to use those plugs, because strawberries can be a little bit finicky in the start.
Okay, awesome. And Sean?
I was just going to jump in.
Yeah.
So this is like what a runner looks like, where strawberries will put a little clone of themselves out. So what the nursery is doing is they're taking these guys and then growing them hydroponically, and that way they're getting disease-free starts. And that's like what Sarah's saying about because we're certified organic, we don't want to spray stuff. So getting really disease-free plants at the beginning is super important for us.
Yeah.
So that's where we're getting those plugs that are started hydroponically?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so they're doing them in a sterile environment in a greenhouse and then taking the little cuttings and then growing them out into transplants for us.
Why Chandler? Why the Chandler variety?
It just grows really well here. I mean, we've had some really good luck with it. It's really proliferated really well. It's got a good disease resistance. I don't know, any other option?
Yeah, really big, marketable fruit. I mean, and that's what we found is like the fruit this year really large. They're looking really good. And then also for me, I've been growing them for I guess 4 seasons now, and that variety is recommended to me from other organic growers here in the state. So that's also important. Is figure out what other people in your area are growing, and that's probably the best place to start.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you a close-up of some of these strawberries, just so you can see what they look like. And if you got any questions, just pop them in the live chat. Here in just a second, we're going to talk about maybe a little bit more about the difference between maybe ordering a bare root versus the plugs like you guys just talked about. So I'm going to show you some here. You got some there?
Yeah. There's some. Like they just picked the other day.
Okay, yeah. So we're in the early part of May, and we really just started harvesting a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it seems like that polar vortex set us back.
Did a little bit.
So we're getting berries later than we have in previous years.
The plants look really nice though, but so we're finally getting really into the swing of things to where we're harvesting 3 times a week. To really make sure that we're constantly getting those ripe berries out of the field.
Cool. Okay. So I mentioned plugs versus bare roots. You want to talk about that? I asked Sean about this earlier too.
Yeah.
What is the difference, and why would somebody order plugs versus bare roots?
Sure. I mean, bare roots are essentially exactly what you're saying right there. It's going to be the roots of the plant without any soil or any medium, so they're going to have no structure to the roots themselves. It can be a little bit harder to start if you have never done strawberries before or any kind of a bare root plant. It's going to be a little bit more difficult when you have the plug itself. It's already got the structure, so it's got a little bit less of a transplant shock to it. What about you? What do you think?
They're cheaper too.
Yeah,
the bare
that's
roots.
true.
So that's what a lot of home growers are using. Usually like an everbearing variety that they just kind of let take over a bed and just kind of produce year after year.
Yeah.
Let all the runners produce, set their own roots, and you just kind of have this big permanent strawberry patch. There are commercial growers that are using them, but they, like Sarah was saying, it requires a special transplanter to be able to transplant that long roots to where they're upright and at the right depth.
Yeah.
Okay. So somebody made a comment. They want to know if the class is going on. So tell them to try to refresh the browser page. Thanks, Kennedy. Okay. Yes, the class is going on.
Strawberry class.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about our ordering. Did you have that pamphlet that you wanted to show? So we'll show you a pamphlet from the place where we ordered these strawberries.
This is their current harvesting guide right here.
What kind of information is going to be in here?
So, pretty much in this guide, it includes, the types that you've got here. So all of our plugs, whether it's an organic option, which are the ones that we use, they've also got conventional options. And then it goes through all of the varieties that they offer. And it gives you kind of just a description of each type of fruit, as well as the plant and what it's best used for. And then you get your order form. Yeah, and then it even goes through kind of bare roots versus the plugs, and they even have tips where basically it's just the runner of the plant. And so that one's another option that they do offer, but you have to get those in the ground basically right away. You don't have a lot of time to work with them.
Where's the page with their contact info? I'm going to show that on the screen. I think it's on the previous page we were just on.
Let's see here.
Yeah, I'm going to show that order form just so folks who are watching the recorded version of this video, if you want to contact this company to order your strawberry plugs, you can do so right there. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about, the varieties that we've selected. We've shown you some of the setup here, and we're going to get more into the equipment and infrastructure that we use. But first, I want to play a video for you guys that we recorded back in November when we first planted all of the strawberries that you see here. And it's going to show you the tools and equipment that we used, some of the methods, and we're going to cue that up and play it right now and answer your questions after we come back.
In our 3.5-acre market garden, we grow certified organic strawberries in our caterpillar tunnels. We begin preparing beds and transplanting starters in November. Here's how we do it. To get started, we mark off the spacing of the beds. Our tunnels are approximately 90 feet long and 15 feet wide, so we can fit 4 beds in each tunnel. We previously grew tomatoes in these beds, so they're already in great shape for strawberry growing. We spread feather meal as a soil amendment, then use our BCS tractor to break up the previous tomato beds and smooth everything out. That way it'll be easier to create our 4 rows. We lay our drip tape and secure it with garden staples and use these straight lines as a guide for laying our plastic layer. This plastic prevents weeds from overtaking the strawberry plants while they're still small and maintains moisture close to the roots of the plants. The easiest way we've found to lay the plastic is to slip a rake or other long-handled tool through the roll of plastic, then have a 2-person team walk along the bed to unroll the plastic. Ideally, someone else can hold the edge of the plastic at the end of the bed. When you reach the other end of the bed, cut the plastic and lay it flat on the ground. Next, we secure the plastic by burying the edges in dirt surrounding the bed. We strategically place and hand-pack anchor points to keep the plastic steady. Then we use a wheel hoe to push dirt against the side of the beds, which are slightly raised above the walkways. The wheel hoe serves another purpose too, of removing any remaining weeds from the walkways. We secure the plastic for each bed before laying the plastic for the next one, to keep plastic from shifting or being blown out of place by the wind. Once the plastic mulch layer is secured, we punch holes in the plastic where the tiny strawberry plugs will be transplanted. Any kind of handheld dibbler or sharp object will work for this task. We use a PVC pipe with markings about every foot to ensure we punch the holes the correct distance apart. Using the pre-measured PVC pipe instead of measuring each bed individually speeds up the process and allows for easy accuracy. Now that each bed has weed control plastic with punctures in the correct spots, we'll drop plugs in each hole and begin situating them into the soil. The transplants are hardy and handle placement well, so we tend to plant them pretty quickly. We ordered our transplants from Cottle Strawberry Nursery out of North Carolina. They offer organic varieties, including Chandler, which has done very well in our garden. This year, we mulched the walkways of the tunnels with leaf litter. We've used landscape fabric in the previous growing seasons, but the switch to leaf litter provides the added benefit of feeding the soil in the tunnel's walkways while controlling weeds and moisture level. Plus, fallen leaves are a free commodity that we can find anywhere during the fall. If you create your own leaf litter, be sure to collect leaves from areas free of weed material or grass seeds to avoid accidentally introducing new weeds directly into your garden. Once the planting and cultivation was finished, we made sure to keep a close eye on moisture level and airflow to ensure our strawberries were growing well. We began harvesting in late April.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that video. Again, we recorded that back in November when we were first planting the strawberries here in the garden. I can show you kind of how the leaf litter has held up, how it has not held up in some places, and just so you can see some of those examples. We have had to cultivate and pick a few more weeds this year. Yep. But we didn't have to use all that plastic landscape fabric, right? That was the main goal of switching to the leaf litter.
Yeah, and to feed the soil, because carrots will be here in the fall. And so we're feeding the soil for the next crop.
Yeah, because otherwise, if you're just using that landscape fabric, all of those walkways that you have in each tunnel, there's going to be no nutrients seeping into those areas.
Awesome. So folks can see here, you know, the leaf litter's still holding up pretty well. Got a good inch or two of it there.
It's still moist, you know, that's the difference too.
Yeah.
It still holds moisture and it's
Yeah.
starting to break down.
And then you can see over here, you know, there's still some weeds coming through. Yeah, we have to pull a few more, but it's much better for the soil.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think this is a technique that we're definitely going to keep using. We're going to have to do a thicker litter next year. It's one of those winter projects that don't always quite get finished the way you want them to, but I'm pretty happy with how they turned out so far. So
Awesome.
yeah.
And I know we're using the plastic culture around the mounds themselves. Do you think we'll do that again in the future? What are some other ways that people can grow strawberries without doing that if they're just doing it at their house?
Yeah, a lot of people use hay and other types of type of a mulch to go around the plants themselves. It just keeps anything that you can use to kind of keep the moisture in, keep the plants from touching the ground is another important thing. There's a lot of different diseases and pests that can get into the fruits themselves if they're just touching bare ground. So you're protecting the soil, you're protecting the roots, you're protecting the berries themselves. So, I mean, hey, what other kinds of things can you think of?
There's different kind of mulches, straw, and then in terms of the plastic, we have used like a biodegradable this is like a disposable, and that's what most commercial growers are using, is a disposable plastic. So it comes out and then goes away at the end of the season. We have used landscape fabric, which you can reuse year after year. What you might need to be concerned about is disease issues, but you could roll up the whole thing and drop it in a tub of like a really dilute bleach solution to help sterilize if you're going to use that. Also paper, you can use like a paper mulch too.
Yeah. Probably do like or even cardboard, something around the plants themselves, especially if you're doing a smaller scale one, just kind of anything that just keeps the weeds out and protects the plant.
Cool, awesome. All right, so just want to check in with our audience, see how you guys are doing. John Erlandson, thanks so much for tuning in and watching. Sounds like either you're in California or your friend is. And I assure you, I am from Arkansas, born and raised in Conway. Kim Red, 13. Don't know if you got your situation figured out or not, but if you're still with us, let us know in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from. Christine Hernandez, one of our biggest fans here at Heifer Ranch. Just kidding. Christine is our livestock specialist, and she's super awesome. If you've seen our YouTube videos, you know who Christine is. Thanks for watching, Christine. She says, Heifer Ranch strawberries are so yummy. Let's put that on the screen. Thank you, Christine, for watching. These strawberries are delicious.
We're literally eating them right now.
For sure, yeah. We're kind of eating as we go here. So yeah, if you got any questions about what we talked about so far, or if you're having issues with your strawberries at home, just whatever you're trying to grow, if you need to do it better, now's a chance to ask some pros. So we're here for you for that. So we are going to talk about, all right, Kim Red is with us. Glad you are watching from Central Florida. Glad your live stream is working out, Kim. So we talked a little bit about, the varieties, how we planted things. Let's talk a little bit about this space that we're in, the caterpillar tunnel itself, because you'll notice we are inside of a greenhouse tunnel. And not everybody has these, and you don't have to have these to grow strawberries. But we're going to tell you why a caterpillar tunnel can be beneficial, and maybe what you can do if you don't have a cat tunnel. So why grow in a caterpillar tunnel, Sarah?
There's a lot of reasons. First of all, it kind of helps us to protect the plants during the winter. It keeps the temperature up just a little bit so that they can really set their roots in and get a really good growth going. So, because we are growing them throughout the winter, and then you're going to be seeing the big growth in the spring again. So you want to make sure that you're protecting those roots and letting it really take hold. So that's a big part of it. Gets nice and warm during the winter. Another part is keeping moisture off of the plants themselves, the leaves, the berries. While of course, it kind of seems counterproductive to keep the water off, it actually does help with the plants themselves. Mm-hmm. Strawberries are super prone to a lot of diseases that happen when there's a lot of moisture in the plant. So you'll see all of these guys, they're dry, there's a lot of airflow in here, they're happy, you're not seeing any kinds of molds or diseases or anything like that, and so that's huge when it comes to growing strawberries. And so that is one of the reasons that we use our tunnels here. Of course, you don't have to have tunnels. We happen to have them, but if you don't have tunnels, you can grow them open air. That's totally fine. You just want to make sure that you're definitely watching for any dead debris around the plants themselves. You want to make sure that there's plenty of airflow in your plants. You can even make your own mini tunnels. My parents have done that. You can just do little PVC pipes over your raised bed and then just put a piece of plastic over it. It's a lot of different options that you can use to protect those plants.
Cool, that's great. So temperature, we want them to it helps with the temperature, keeps the leaves dry, no foliar diseases. Help with pests too, maybe? Does it help with pests or insects?
It can, yeah.
It's kind of creates a little bit of a shield. Sarah was experiencing deer problems, and so she put a fence on the ends, and then now there's no deer in the strawberry fields. Excuse me. Another reason that we really appreciate them is being able to harvest in the rain.
Oh,
so our our springs in Arkansas are notoriously wet, and just random rainstorms that pop up out of the middle of nowhere. And so it could be pouring down rain, and we can still harvest strawberries, and they're nice and dry when they're going into the till, which is good.
Cool, awesome. Okay, we do have some questions. This question is from Patrick Walker, who is asking about what we're talking about. How do you keep birds and squirrels from getting and eating the berries? Do we ever close up the end of the tunnels? It's kind of all related, but that's what he's asking is.
There are definitely tunnels that you can close up all the way down to the ground. A lot of times you'll see those in a lot cooler climate, so that's even more of a protection. So you can get tunnels like that, you can make tunnels like that. We personally have just been using, I bought like a deer netting, and so we just applied that with some T-posts on the end, and so you just open it up when you're harvesting and shut that when you're not harvesting, just so that there's at least a little bit of a physical barrier. That's pretty much the main thing, is just creating physical barriers. So fencing's important, get the deer out of the way, just trying to physically keep them off of the plants is the best way to do it. I mean, there's also, you can use what did we do, the blood meal?
Yeah,
that's
so,
another one.
Yeah, it's like Plant Guard, I think is the product. It's basically just blood meal, and that helps to deter, mice, rabbits, deer, because they smell the blood and they think predator. And then it also fertilizes the plants at the same time. So that's a really nice thing to use. As far as squirrels, I mean, because we're not in an urban setting, we don't. If we're in a backyard with trees all around, squirrel pressure would be a lot higher. There's almost none out here in the garden that I've seen.
We've had some bunnies.
Yeah, but bunnies and the birds, I guess on the ends of the tunnel, we'll get some birds. They tap into the strawberries, get the juice out of it.
But they don't like to be in the tunnels either.
But yeah, most creatures don't like to be. I guess the plastic weirds them out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we got another question. This one is coming from our friend John Martineau at Rose Hill Homestead. Rose Hill wants to know, when do you pull the plants out? So we planted in November. Do we pull these out? And if so, when do we pull these plants out?
We do pull our plants out. You don't always have to. If you're wanting to keep a perennial bed, of course you're going to be actually maintaining it through the next season. But because we do include it as part of our rotational crop plan, we will be pulling these out. Probably they will produce through June, probably end of June into July is probably about the time we'll be pulling those out.
Yeah, I mean, you're really watching for like when your production peaks, like when it's no longer worth picking. Yeah. And sending someone out there to pick, then.
There's a lot of types of fungal blights and different things that as you get into the really humid parts of summer, especially for us here in Arkansas, that's when production just really starts peak. It's just not worth it anymore. So that's kind of our general rule of thumb.
And because we're like a high rotation market garden, if we like get out what's taking our time and costing us space, we want to replace it with something that's going to be profitable. So out with the strawberries, in with the tomatoes or whatever else you might have.
Cool. Okay. All right. If you have any other questions about, planting and the varieties and what we talked about so far, get them in. We are going to show you now. We're going to show you some of those ends that we put on to prevent some of these animals from getting in. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the tools that we use for cultivating, some of the equipment that we use for irrigating, and things like that. So we're going to walk right out here if you guys want to come with me.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and I'm going to show the netting. Which one do you think works better? Well, they won't be able to see that one on the screen. So I'm going to show this one to you guys. So you can see this is just real makeshift netting that we've put up.
This is literally just some trellising.
Like tomato trellising, right?
Yeah, it's for like tomatoes or for cucumbers, and we ran out of our deer netting, which you really couldn't see on the screen. But so literally just anything that's a physical barrier, even just like the movement of this in the wind will sometimes deter pests from coming through. So anything that's like movement or sound, something that's going to scare off any kind of an animal.
Gotcha. So you can see we got a whole nother tunnel here. There's one of 4. I'll show you. There's one right there, and then one here, and 2 more over there. So you see we got 4 tunnels full. And Sean's got some handy dandy pieces of equipment there. Sarah, you want to talk about these a little bit? And on this side, if you don't mind.
I'm kind of a tool junkie a little bit, so I love my favorite hose here.
Awesome.
So these are kind of my 2 favorite types of tools. You can use them in a field. You can use them, in this. It's just really easy. They're kind of like, I think they're called scuffle hose, or you can call them collinear hose.
Hold it real still. I'll get a little closer on it.
All right.
Okay. So it's just a garden hoe with a really small attachment there on the end, and this one here is like a razor blade almost.
Yeah, it's got a sharp side, and then this side is actually pretty dull. And so the way they work is you actually can stand upright instead of having to. You see a lot of people using hose. You're really punching when you're doing it, but when you've got one like this, it's already at a right angle for you to where you can just scuffle it along and just cultivate the top of the soil. And so it's going to go through and it's going to get all of those weeds and then also any of the tiny little roots that are just starting. And yeah, that one's pretty easy too. It's just really nice because especially with that really thin one, it gets right in between next to the crops. So those are really easy to use in our tunnels. We also just pretty much just hand pull, especially where the leaf litter is really working very well. Whenever a leaf or whenever a weed comes up, you can really just grab it and pull it. It's really easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see. I'm gonna jump in here. Let's see. Don Fredericks has a question, and Don wants to know: did we manufacture our tunnels, the caterpillar tunnels? Where did we get the tunnels from? Did we manufacture those?
Farmer's Friend, or?
Yeah, they're Farmer's Friend tunnels. I think most of these tunnels are about almost 5 years old now.
Yeah.
The plastic's been replaced on most of them. I think these two are newer. These ones behind me have a lift kit that makes them taller. I would definitely recommend that.
Yeah.
As well as some of the, the one that Tyler showed that looks really short and squatty. It's been through a few pretty rough windstorms.
A little windstorm on that one.
Yeah, so doing like a solid purlin down the middle and some wind bracing is definitely worth the investment, I think.
Yeah, because these are all movable too. You can move them wherever you need them. So, I mean, we've just been moving them along with our strawberry and tomato crops throughout our crop plan. Yeah,
Okay.
pretty nice.
All right, Don, I hope that answers your question. And then I'm going to show the logo on these tools so folks know where they can get those. We can hold that nice and steady. So these cultivation tools we get from our friends at Johnny's Selected Seeds. We love lots of Johnny's products. We work with them all the time. They've partnered with us on live streams before. But if you are interested in these cultivation tools, you can check them out on their website or their catalog. All right. Any other tools for, I mean, you got your bare hands. You probably pull a lot of weeds with those.
Lots of bare hands,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it for cultivation and the tunnels especially.
Okay.
We do have some other kinds of tools for harvesting. Did we want to get into those?
Yeah, let's
Did we leave one of those?
harvesting and irrigation. Do we want to talk irrigation first and then harvesting? Let's do
Yeah, let's do that.
irrigation
Okay.
first. So we're going to show you guys our irrigation setup that we use in these tunnels. Again, if you're just tuning in, if you're just watching with us, type your questions in the live chat. Let's have a conversation about growing strawberries. All right, Sean, what do you got here?
Yeah, so this is our irrigation setup is pretty simple. Because we're using the plastic, we have drip tape that's run underneath the plastic. I think we're using 2-inch spacing on the drip lines.
Yeah.
There's a single line for each bed, and that's more than enough moisture. We're not even needing to water every day because the plastic helps hold in a lot of moisture, as well as the mulch that's in the water pads. And then, to help give the strawberries a boost once they start fruiting, we're doing something called fertigation, which is, it's irrigation and fertilizing mixed together, fertigation. And so there's lots of different kinds of fertigators. There's the siphon types that are like $5. You can usually get them on Amazon. This one might be $60, I think. And the way that it works is it creates a siphon to suck some of the fertilizer that you're putting into this container. The water flows in, and then just through the pressure it pulls a little bit with the flow of the water to mix it with the irrigation water, and then you're getting a nice gentle dilute dose of fertilizer into your crops. So what's neat about this is that we can take an organic fertilizer, kelp extract, fish emulsion, something that is approved for certified organic use, and then be able to give it to all the strawberries in an even amount. So if they're looking a little stressed, if they need a little pick-me-up midsummer, it's a really easy way to fertilize, because we can't really go back and do that after the fact now that the plastic's in place and the plants are really big. So it's really simple.
No electricity required?
No, that's the great thing, is it's just like, and whenever we're not fertilizing with it, if there's a little bit of sediment or something in there, you can open up the bottom, it comes out, and then you just leave it attached and regular water just flows through it. So I've really liked this one. This is our first year using this type of model. I think I got it from groworganic.com out of California. I think this is about $60.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to jump in here. We do have another question from Don Fredericks about the caterpillar tunnels. He wanted to know, what is the wind rating of these caterpillar tunnels? Do you guys know off the top of your head what the rating is for
I don't
these?
know that I've seen a rating.
Less than whatever came through. Yeah, that's a good question.
Well,
that might be a later
if you just go to Farmer's Friend website and check out their Classic Pro, which this probably is very similar to a Classic Pro, it'll have the information for the different ratings for these caterpillar tunnels there. Hope that helps you get the answer to your question, Don. If anybody else knows, feel free to type that in the chat. So that's pretty cool about the Fertigator. I'd not seen that myself. I was pretty excited to check that out. And again, that's just tied into a garden hose here.
Yeah,
we run that in
for any crops. It doesn't have to be strawberries.
Yeah. You know, our tomato crops. This is our first year with the tomatoes in that new tunnel. So we haven't grown in that space before. It's just been pasture last year, and so you know that's one of the great things with the fertigation is you can be able to fertilize throughout the growing season. Especially for areas that have not seen a lot of fertilizing and soil improvement and stuff throughout the season. And then for timing on this, for the strawberries, it's really they're not completely protected from the rain in the sense that rain and moisture still comes from the outside of the tunnels in. So if you've gotten really a lot of rain that week, you probably don't want to irrigate. And one of the ways I check that is just to be able to look at the soil. So you can peek next to the strawberries, or maybe there's an empty hole where one of the strawberries died, and you can kind of dig down a little bit and just see what the moisture level is like, and then decide if you need to irrigate or not. And we like to use timers. So our larger tunnels have an automatic timer. It's 30 minutes a day every day throughout the summertime. Something like the strawberries where it's wet springs and things like that, we just use it's almost like an egg timer. You just twist it to 45 minutes, an hour, and then let it go. So it's not every single day the way that we do our tomatoes and peppers through peak summer.
Yeah.
Cool. Does it change? Did you mention does it change when they start ripening up?
You may even want to back off a little bit on the watering once they're starting to ripen, because if you're putting too much water in there, the berries will may have some moisture issues.
And I think the best way to know is just taste them. Just eat a bunch of them, and if they taste great, just leave them alone.
That's always a good rule.
Yeah, just eat them.
Taste first.
Yeah. So let's show people how we taste them. Not quite literally, but when we get ready to harvest, what do we do, Sarah? I know you got some tools and equipment going on over here. We want to show folks.
So we have started using some of these little harvest carts. I'll move this here. Where did you get these guys? I can't remember.
Oh, I can't remember. It might have been Nolts or something like that.
Or something like that? Okay.
These carts are what the professional growers, 1,000 acres of strawberries or whatever in California, that's what those guys are using.
And it really takes the pressure off, because if you're doing all of these beds, you are going to be leaning over for the entire time you're harvesting. So to be able to have something that reduces the amount of leaning you have to do, we can actually place our harvest little case right there, and we've just been harvesting right into our cases.
Yeah, which is key, because
yeah,
strawberries are so delicate. You want to handle them as little as possible.
Exactly. So that's kind of what we've been using, and then you can actually just pull it along with you. Grab a strawberry, drop it in, pull it along, rifle through. That's kind of a key component of strawberries, is you have to keep looking under all the leaves, because you'll find some as you keep going.
You guys already harvested recently, so you probably won't find a lot.
There's not a ton of them, but there are some pretty ones out here.
That's a good looking strawberry. Yeah. And you just use this little cart to make life a little easier on you.
Yeah.
Right? So you can keep them all together.
And for food safety too, you don't want to slide your box with the fresh produce against the ground.
Yeah.
So
particularly now that we're not using that landscape fabric, because it's literally leaf litter that we're pulling it through.
Yeah, keeps everything nice and clean.
Yeah.
Let's see, I'll jump in here. Melody Conister says that we're growing strawberries in Jonesboro and the raccoons have discovered them.
Oh, no.
Sorry, Melody, I don't blame the raccoons, and I don't blame you for whatever you got to do to get rid of them. If you're growing in a covered environment, you can seal it off. If you're just growing outside, you can get a cat. I don't know. What could she do, guys?
Live traps are always an option. You could even just get a nice handful of rotting berries as a little trophy. You could be like, here, come get this, and put it away from your stuff. Yeah.
And then bird netting too is another option, to where you're creating a physical barrier. So using like a number 9 wire, like what they use for like fences. You can kind of make a little temporary hoop.
Like
and
9-gauge steel
wires?
Yeah,
not 9-gauge steel wires. Make little hoops and then lay that bird netting over it, and then you're creating and that'll also help with, like, I've had problems with doves too, getting into strawberries.
All
Yeah,
those doves.
yeah, they'll get your tomatoes too. So.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Cool. All right. So sorry to hear about your problem there, Melody. Good luck with that. Protect those berries. Let's see. Okay, so we showed you a little bit about, our harvesting equipment here. Shown you the tools and equipment that we use for cultivating. All our tunnels here. We're running toward the end of our broadcast today. We're going to talk a little bit about how we market these strawberries, where you can buy these strawberries if you are interested. So if you're still with us and you're hanging out and you have any burning questions about strawberries, get them in now. We'll probably sign off here in the next, I don't know, whenever. And so yeah, ask those questions, but let's talk a little bit about marketing. We grow a lot of strawberries here, and we got to sell them. Do you have any trouble selling strawberries?
We find that once people taste our strawberries, we don't have problems selling them. And I think a huge part of what we've really worked towards is being able to make a really premium product. We've actually started using these cute little totes that are just even more, it just adds more to it, because it is going to be an organic product. It's going to be a little bit more pricey than those conventional ones you're going to find in a grocery store. But we've been selling to kind of smaller markets. Bell Urban out in Conway has been kind of one of our main ones this season. And then definitely Bramble has been our big one in the past. And now that our berries are ramping up, right outside of Little Rock.
Yeah, West Little Rock.
Yeah,
Bramble
West
Market
Little Rock.
outside of West
Bramble
Little Rock?
Market, yeah. So now that our berries are ramping up, we should be able to start pumping them out to both of those guys. Are going to be our main ones. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, people love local, fresh, organic strawberries in the summertime.
Organic is huge.
Like, to me, it says, like, summer is almost here, buddy. Just hang on, and here are the berries.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good, there's a lot of great strawberry producers in Arkansas, and they have lines. For blocks and blocks and blocks, just waiting. Yeah. And so it's something that everyone looks forward to every season, and so the packaging helps distinguish us a little bit, and we always want to be about like quality too, and so we try and overfill our tills a little bit, nice mound, and so when we get our volunteers in for the spring, like that's one of the first steps when we enter into strawberry seasons, like let's go over quality control. And so like if you see what Sarah did is she laid out 4 of the ones that'll be for market, and then she has 2 of these pulp pots, so as someone's picking they can actually separate the grade A versus grade B. So we don't want anything to go to waste. Our grade B will find their way to like restaurants or food processors that they can turn into jams and jelly, and that might just be something really minor, like a small imperfection or
just even size.
Yeah, size. Yeah. Size is probably the number one thing that makes a B grade berry.
Smaller, I mean, they still taste just as good.
Oh yeah.
But consumers, they like those big, giant, juicy ones. So.
Okay, a couple more comments, and stick around, guys. We are going to let you know about our next live stream that we're going to be doing at the end of the broadcast. We have a special big announcement we're also going to make, so stick around for a few more minutes. We're going to answer your questions and then make those announcements. So let's see. Don Fredericks again. He said this cart is really cool.
It is.
And wants to know if you use it for harvesting any other vegetables.
Yeah, we do actually. It's been really handy for tomatoes, particularly in the start of the season when your tomato plants are still fairly short. They've been really handy for that. We can also we have our harvest totes, and they fit on this.
And you can stack the totes.
You can stack the totes. You can do a couple of them on there. They've been just kind of a game changer, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, and
cool.
They're narrow enough. They're less than a foot wide.
And they can handle the bumps between the walkways really well. So.
Yeah, they're great.
Well, we have another question from Kennedy Reynolds. Kennedy wants to know, what is the difference between the blue and the brown carts? Anything?
Even the brown.
The cartons?
Yeah, the cartons.
So I think these are made out of some sort of softwood. They're probably twice the price as the paper ones. These are made out of recycled paper, and so
we had used those in the past.
Yeah, we've always used these, but these look the same as everyone else's.
Yeah.
And so we were wanting to really show that ours are organic. We want people to see our name, and so this was a better option for us. Since we're trying to get a premium.
They look really attractive.
They do, yeah. When they're filled with those berries all the way to the top,
yeah.
they look gorgeous.
I want to buy them. Yeah. But I just come out here and eat them for free.
And
just kidding.
Out with the netting.
yeah, keep me out. You gotta tie that up. Okay, lots more questions coming in. See, Patrick Walker says, "What do you do with your plants after you pull them in June? Do you compost them?
We do compost them, yeah. So I know a lot of people would be like, oh, you gotta keep growing them or whatever, but I mean, it's just part of our system, and because we do compost them, they still go to use in some way.
They're food later, that's what we say.
They're food later, exactly. I mean, compost is just food prolonged for another time.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Okay. Let's see, another question. Kim Red, 13, wants to know, how often are you guys fertilizing? And is it strictly with the fertigator?
It has been strictly with the fertigator this season. We fertilized early in the season. We have not it's been at least a month or...
Yeah, probably 3 weeks.
Yeah, probably 3 weeks now. Now that it's kind of in peak season, it's not as necessary to use that fertilizer. You don't want to put too much energy into the big leafy greens. You want to make sure that plant's still pumping out berries. So usually you want to get some fertilizer in down towards like the fall time when you first get them in, just to really get them established, and then early spring is going to be your top two.
And you may focus on nitrogen in the early season when you want foliage, and then like phosphorus and potassium, trace minerals when they're starting to produce fruit.
All right, cool. Well, guys, thanks so much for all of your great questions. They really make the stream so much more enjoyable for us here at Heifer USA. We're always excited to be chatting with our audience and answering your questions the best we can, making a community out of these live streams. So I want to announce our next live stream is going to be June 16th or 17th, I believe, and it's going to be with the amazing Christine Hernandez talking about pastured poultry here at Heifer Ranch. We'll be out in the pastures with about 500 amazing chickens hanging out in one of our poultry schooners, answering your questions live, all about how we raise 30,000 pastured poultry here at Heifer Ranch. So if you are a backyard poultry hobbyist, if you are raising pastured poultry on your farm and you want to hang out with an amazingly talented and smart professional, Christine Hernandez, just join us for that live stream. Subscribe to our YouTube page. You can sign up to our email newsletter and you won't miss a thing. We won't bombard you with emails. We'll put a link in the live chat right now so you can go and sign up to that email newsletter if you want to. So that will be our next live stream coming in the month of June, pastured poultry with Christine Hernandez. I want to make one more special announcement, a little bit on a sad note, but today is going to be our last live stream with Sean Passera. Sean, you have been an amazing colleague. I have loved working with you. I have learned so much. Sean is moving on, and I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about his next project and venture.
Yeah, I'm going full-time with our business, Mindful Farmer, here in Arkansas, and we manufacture and design custom greenhouses, prairie schooners, chicken coops, and some other farm supply kind of things. So check us out on Instagram, YouTube, and yeah, so I'll still be making YouTube videos, but it'll be Mindful Farmer Arkansas. Mindful Farmer Arkansas.
All right, well, we are going to miss Sean. We're still going to check in on him from time to time and see how his business is going and how his farm is running. Sean, thanks again for everything, man. I'm going to miss you. Love doing all this work with you, but we're happy and excited to continue to be doing this amazing work with Sarah, and we won't miss a beat. We'll keep you informed as to everything that's going on here at Heifer Ranch and continue the live streams. All right, guys, I think that's going to do it for us here at Heifer USA. On behalf of all of our team, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Go get some strawberries.
Eat some strawberries.
Eat some strawberries.